Oh man, we're in for it now. We really should have prepared before coming to this beehive. Hey guys, it's your boy Rumsey, back with episode 2 of Thor's playthrough of Valheim. Where we left off in the last episode, we were currently searching for the Black Forest. We're just getting a foothold in the world, trying to see what's around us, and maybe do some exploring. And yeah, that's what we're going to continue on with today. We're going to need a ton of base resources. We're going to need a ton of food, berries, meat, especially leather scraps and hides in general. But not only that, we're going to be trying to collect the rest of the fine wood that we would need to make our fine wood bow. And I'm sure you guys know the fine wood bow is usually locked behind the bronze axe. But considering the trees are found so abundantly in the meadows, it's super hard to pass it up, considering you can drop the trees with a little bit of planning. And yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that later. But for now, we're kind of just getting a grip on what's around us. Usually there's a black forest attached to the main island that you spawn on. I've only encountered one seed where that wasn't the case, where I was actually landlocked. But yeah, I'm almost certain there's a black forest, at least a small one around us. So we're going to just try to find that so we can get our core wood. And then once we get the core wood we need, I think we need 10 core wood, we'll get the last, we need one single piece of fine wood yet to actually make our fine wood bow. And that's going to do a lot for us, especially this early in the game. But as we search for the Black Forest, I'm not passing up any opportunity to pick up flint or any other of the resources that I happen to come across. And just stockpile them in the base and get a nice food supply. And here we find an oak tree right next to a birch tree. Both of these contain fine wood if you're able to drop them. But there's a major difference between the oak and the birch tree in that the oak tree is easier to roll around than the birch tree, assumingly because it's a larger of a tree, and it might weigh the same as far as the physics is concerned. But it's got a larger area to it, so I'm assuming that's why it rolls around a lot easier. It'll make sense when we actually get to that point. But yeah, we need to find the Black Forest first, and I'm hoping that Black Forest that we find actually contains pine trees for core wood. But yeah, there's only one way to find out. And after decimating the population of necks and totally clearing the forest of pretty much all the mushrooms, I find this little tree house here, and I'm kind of far away from my initial base. So I'm going to drop a workbench here for one of two reasons. I'm either going to collect all the wood by destroying the treehouse with my hammer, or I'm going to use this as like a little fob or a bug out shelter if the night hits and I'm too far away from base. So yeah, it's cool to do that and have a bunch of little forward operating bases surrounding your base. It definitely makes for an easier time. And it might seem like overkill here, but seriously, never pass up an opportunity to collect food or take on a boar, or if you're lucky enough to find a deer that's kind of stuck in a little position like this one here. Especially if you're only working with a club or a melee weapon. When you get the bow, it becomes a lot easier to take on boar or deer especially. But when you have a club, never pass up an opportunity to smash a deer if they get close enough. Another great tip is to always make sure you have some food consumed. On the bottom left-hand corner of the screen next to your HP, you'll see 3 slots there, and each of them have a different piece of food within them. And when you eat food in this game, it increases your maximum HP as well as your max stamina. And hunting deer is not very dangerous, but the boar will definitely attack you. As you can see, I'm being trailed by the boar pretty far. And they're super erratic and they're pretty quick. So definitely have some sort of food consumed if you're going to be taking on boar. Or really any sort of enemy that's going to attack you. especially the gray dwarfs or trolls. Speaking of trolls, I usually find trolls spawned in these sort of open meadows within the meadows themselves, and I don't know if they spawn this early. I kind of felt like trolls would spawn super early in my other playthroughs, but maybe that's changed, or maybe I'm just getting unlucky. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for the big blue guys. They will ruin your day real quick, and they'll one-shot you pretty easily. So at this point in time, I'm not sure if we're gonna find a black forest close to us. I was really confident that I would be able to find a black forest in the first like 5 minutes of exploring, but at this point it's looking pretty sparse out here. It seems to be just meadows around us, but I don't know, maybe there's another piece of land that's connected to the mainland and I just have to find the crossing. But yeah, it's not a big deal. Until then, I'm just going to continue collecting all the resources I possibly can. If you guys have any good tips on how to find black forests early, definitely share them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it from you guys. I know it's kind of RNG, but I heard a few different times that there's like a method to finding black forests, so I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. I was getting pretty bummed out until I came upon this runestone here. If you guys don't know, if you find a runestone that is either inhabited by a bunch of boar or has some sort of etching about boar on the runestone, that means there's a boar spawner at that location. And never pass up the opportunity to mark them on your map, especially if they're close to one of your bases, because these can be a very good supply of leather scraps and meat as well. You can build a boar farm, and we'll definitely be doing that real soon. And for anybody who's unsure, you can simply double click on your map and type in whatever you'd like to easily map out the surrounding locations around your base or whatever biome you're exploring. It's super handy, and I genuinely recommend taking advantage of it. And what makes this runestone, this boar spawn runestone, really significant is that it's spawned right next to a really steep randomly generated hill. And I don't know how much you guys know about the boar farms, but it's pretty significant when you find a runestone on an elevation like this. And we'll get into that on another episode, but it's really neat. In my opinion, this is one of the sickest things about Valheim. Although we set out looking for a black forest, and we've yet to find one, we found this boar spawner that's pretty much placed perfectly for an ideal boar farm. So, as well as that, we find a mountain biome right next to our meadows. So, you know, there's always something to look forward to. There's always something crazy out there for you to find, and that's one of my favorite things about Valheim. It's randomly generated, and every single playthrough is going to be different. And yeah, it's so cool. Since I got so lucky here finding these two little surprises, I kept checking around the vicinity to see if I could maybe find a black forest as well. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be a black forest up this way. But I did find this starred buck here. And if you guys don't know, starred animals or mobs of any type have an increased chance to drop additional loot. And I probably would have got him if it wasn't for that gray dwarf. But he led us to something even more special. As you can see on the left there, we just ran past that little village, and it has a beehive on the back of that house. And beehives this early in the game are so good. It's a renewable source of food. Honey is amazing even before you can turn it into anything. Just honey by itself is a great food. And it really shines when you accumulate like 4 or 5 beehives around your base. And then you're just mass producing honey and you'll never run out of food. And And it's super useful for the later game as well, so never pass up an opportunity to get one of these beehives. I personally never came across the beehive before I had a bow, so this is going to be a little interesting. I'm either going to have to craft a primitive bow, or I'm going to try to just huck it down with my club. We'll see. But yeah, these villages are super useful for loot as well. Almost every house here will have a chest within them, and as well as the loot that they have, there's usually always some sort of little farm around them. And yeah, you can either inhabit these little houses. As you can see, it's getting to be nighttime, so I decided to kind of remodel or do some renovations on this little house here and spend the night. But these houses can also be deconstructed for just a ton of wood. As soon as you place down a workbench around these houses, you can take your hammer and deconstruct the houses that you don't want to live in or that you don't want on your map. And yeah, they give you tons and tons of wood. Super useful in the early game. And I could just as easily place a campfire outside, but I'm going to go ahead and make a little chimney here and do a little cooking while I'm at this place anyways. It's a good use of your time when the sun goes down. As you guys know, it's not only hard to explore and see what you're doing, but mobs are far more likely to find you in the night hours. And yeah, it can put you in a real tough situation real quick. So I definitely recommend taking shelter, at least until you have some good weapons or feel comfortable. And I think it's cool to put this in here anyways, for anyone who didn't catch my first episode, where I built my chimney on my little main base. You see, these chimneys in Valheim aren't just for looks, they actually serve a pretty significant role. I'm sure a lot of you already know, but Valheim has a pretty sweet physics system. And one of the things that follows the physics is smoke from your fireplaces. So yeah, you have to build your fireplaces with ventilation in mind, or you'll quickly get smoked out while you're in your base. So yeah, they don't just look pretty; they actually serve a pretty cool purpose. And yeah, now that we got everything tidied up and repaired, we're gonna throw down a real bed, one that we can actually sleep in and spend the night. And yeah, we got a safe little house just in time for the night. And as you can see, it's good to put a little door on your fireplace. As you can see, I'm out of wood, but I'll definitely throw a door up. You have to encase your chimney completely. And yeah, as you can see, in the middle of the night, I couldn't help but you know, go for a midnight stroll and see if I could take on this beehive, but it's just not happening. I got myself in some trouble there. But yeah, those bees will quickly eat through your HP. So I'm just going to try to deconstruct some of these surrounding houses that I'm not using. And maybe build a bow. Because the bows are definitely the way to take down the beehives. You can do it without taking a single hit. But yeah, we need a bow and some arrows before we can do any of that stuff. And I'm sure you guys saw, I placed my initial workbench in the middle of the town. That was just so that I had a radius that reached out to the rest of those little houses to deconstruct them. But I threw down a workbench inside my little fob just so I could do some crafting. Try to make some arrows and a bow. But yeah, I go back to these houses just to collect some more wood. But don't forget to loot the chests before you destroy the chests. But yeah. And as you guys can see, I'm just amassing tons and tons of wood without having to chop down any trees. So I really recommend placing down a workbench in the middle of these villages you find. Even if you're not staying the night, if you're short on wood, this will definitely tighten you up. And during the night, I dreamt of, you know, having that beehive all to myself. And It's day 5, as you guys can see, and we're definitely going to go get that beehive and find that black forest. But I think this is about time to end this episode. And in the next episode, we will definitely find our black forest. And yeah, we get a beehive as well, so that's really exciting. And hopefully make it back to our main base in one piece with some core wood, I assume. And yeah, if you guys like this episode or you'd like to see more of these Valheim playthroughs, show Thor some love and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I always look forward to hearing back from you guys. And yeah, until then, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.